Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hey, welcome back. It is your friend Cesar Espino, and you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com. Welcome to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. And today I have a special guest. His name is Zachary Babcock. Hey, Zachary, how are you, brother?
Dude, Cesar, what's going on, man? I'm excited to be here, dude.
Man, I'm excited to have you here. Definitely, we've been connecting on and off for quite some time now, and I'm glad to have you here today because I know you're going to have so much great energy and information to give us.
Hey, man, dude, yeah, I'm fired up. Likewise, it's been a long time coming to make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. So let me give the viewers and the listeners a little bit of your background, and then we can dive into that, right? So Zachary, he came from over 5 years in prison to a six-figure business owner. He helps entrepreneurs launch, grow, and monetize top-shelf passive income businesses and personal brands. He has interviewed over 100 celebrities and alpha entrepreneurs on the Underdog Empowerment, and he has a broad perspective from both extremes of life. And man, that's amazing. Just even thinking about that and the story and you know your show of the Underdog Empowerment, it's just so good to know about that. So let me start with that, though. Tell me a little bit about your past life and your upbringing and how you ended up in jail.
Yeah, man. I'll give the quick story, the high the high overview, cliff notes. We could dig deeper if you want.
Yeah.
But I grew up. My dad died when I was 7. My mother was amazing. But it's hard for a single mom to raise a boy. We need that disciplinary father figure type in our lives. Well, anyways, I'm not using that as an excuse, but that's just, it's right. I grew up in Ferguson, Missouri. And so I wanted to fit in with other people, the wrong crowd a lot of the times. And I did things that were outside of my character that went against my own values to fit in. And so that led to not having a chief aim in life and smoking weed and just, never having nothing really to strive for and making a lot of poor decisions in the process, which ultimately landed me in prison by the time I was 19.
Wow. Yeah. And one thing that I can think of is that a lot of times, and this, talking to so many different people, people tend to, when they're lost or they're looking for that acceptance, they tend to go or fall into crowds because of that acceptance, right? If you don't have that at home or you don't have that with a particular group of people, you feel like maybe if I go to this crowd and I become more of like them, then I'll be accepted, which is kind of like trying to get that internal feeling of fulfillment. Yet at the end of the day, it might end up hurting you more down the line, right? And so I see that a lot, especially with younger generation, right? Where in school or high school or even college, sometimes you tend to fall into that type of crowd. So having that said, like you are obviously around so many great entrepreneurs. What is your thought about hanging with the right crowd and, the average 5, as people will say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's everything, man. It's the simplest stuff and cliche, whatever you hear it a bunch, but it is everything, dude. And I mean, you can't be more right. It's not just like a tendency. It's literally it's how we're wired as humans, man. Going back to primal ages when we're social animals. So we depend on the tribe. And back then, if we got exiled from the tribe, that meant death. Saber-toothed tigers and no technology and all that. And so that's why it's such a big fear for us. Even even now that we do have this stuff. But yeah, man, it's everything, bro. Like, that was the one thing that because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do coming out of prison to be a responsible father and happy and successful. And you know what success looked like, dude.
Yeah.
But I knew the only thing I knew because everything else I had to figure out as I went through it. But the only thing I knew was I have to change my people, places, and things. I can't hang around the same people I was hanging around with before, because I was going to get the same results if I kept doing that. And just that alone, you know, changed the game for me and led me down to the path. Obviously, there's a lot of skills and other things I had to develop in the process, but that was a starting point.
Yeah. How was it for you going into prison, saying, okay, you know, this might be my new reality, without even knowing whether it's going to be a day, a week, a month, or a year, right? Like, because I'm sure that, and I'm not first in knowing that yet. I'm sure that there's so many things going in through your head, thinking like, okay, is this the end of me, or did I change this current reality, or at which point did you figure out that, you know what, this is not what I want to be in, and either way, when I get out, I'm gonna change people, places, and things.
Yeah, it's a really good question, man. It's weird because a lot of people always, you know, ask me about, you know, stuff that I went through in prison, but never asked me that question. So
Yeah.
that's cool, man. And so now I have to kind of think about it and go back to that point in time in my life. I remember heading in the first time, you know, I was 19 and I was scared to death because I was like, man, I'm getting ready to go to prison. Like, I'm not no soft punk or nothing, but man,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some stuff on TV where I'm like, you know, I'm not the greatest fighter in the world, you know, so I was scared of that. And then once the reality sunk in, like, hey, you're going to go away for some years, then I started accepting that. And then I was like, then I started like, you know, like I always had good intentions, but I wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't all the way, you know, to that point. There was still a lot of development that had to happen, and that just comes through the experience. But you know, after being locked up for about 8 months to a year or so, then it kind of just became the normal for me. And then I stopped, you know, I would think about stuff like, you know, visualize the day I got out and stuff like that, but really my mind was just in there, and that just became my normal everyday life because I didn't want to live on the outside of it. It's hard to explain, but really hard to explain. But you know, I got out with good intentions when I was 23 after doing over 4 years, and you know, I wanted to stay out, but I ended up, you know, having another slip and bump in the road and went back for 8 months, and that's when, you know, that was like the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, when I was like, dude, I'm done. You know what
That's
I
it.
mean?
You're done with that crap. Yeah. What is your biggest lesson with that, though? Right? Like going back in it the second time, and even learning from the first four in some years. What has been the biggest lesson for you through that journey?
Biggest lesson by far, and then I have a tool that also
Mm-hmm.
that I still continue to use to this day that anybody can use. But the biggest lesson was that everything is my fault. Everything wrong in my life is my fault, and everything right in my life is my fault. And you know, some of my listeners might, you know, be like, well, dude, you can't control everything that happens in life. And yeah, duh, dude, you can't. All right, you can't control, you know, a tornado coming through and tearing down your house and killing your family. God forbid that happens, you know, but that could legitimately happen, and you could not control that from happening or not happening, right? But you can decide whether you want to be bitter about it and live the rest of your life miserable and doing horrible things after that, or you could choose to let that pain eternalize and empower you and go out and do some cool things as a result of that pain that you went through. Whatever you decide to do, though, man, it's your choice, and you get to respond however. You got the freedom to respond to whatever happens to you. So no matter what, you, meaning you always have the power over your circumstances. You can choose to, whatever happens to you, oh, I got cancer, I'm gonna live the rest of my life miserable, or you can choose to go out and do some cool stuff. It's your choice. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I love that. And at the end of the day, it comes down to taking full responsibility and acknowledging whatever the hell is going on with you. And just like you said, you know, like the outcome is determined by you. Whatever the circumstances that might be, that outcome is determined by you. And so you take full responsibility. And that's actually very powerful, because you definitely did that. You've very well said, you know what, I was locked up for X amount of years, yet I did all these bad things. And that that pass is just an experience. It's a lesson. I learned from that. I took responsibility. Let me now go and create the underdog, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where did this come from, or the idea of coming up with the underdog empowerment movement.
Yeah, 2018 was the official launch, but I just the reason why I landed on Underdog is because at the time nobody would give me a chance. Like I tried to collaborate with all these entrepreneurs, and I was just like some ex-convict that was on his way back to prison, and in a matter of time. And look, he's a joke, he's a clown, he's trying to be an entrepreneur, whatever. That's what I was dealing with, man. And I was like, and I got in entrepreneurship not because it was a cool thing, it was because I couldn't get a job anywhere. I literally would go and fill out applications, and I'd watch everybody get hired before me, even if I was 100 times more qualified than them. And so I was like, man, okay, so I got this underdog thing going on. I'm gonna prove these I'm saying wrong. I didn't want to cuss on your show in case I didn't.
No, you're good, man.
But
yeah.
Right on. I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong, dude. And so that's where it came from. And that basic principle in that is that, really, I say, because there's this whole thing of the white privilege thing going or whatever. I'm like, dude, look, check it out, man. If you are privileged, that's actually being underprivileged. Because look about it. If you put me heads up against anybody that's had everything handed to them their whole entire life and they never had to struggle and power through anything, I'm not just going to win. I'm going to completely dominate every single time. Maybe not right out the gate, right? Maybe because I don't have all the resources right out the gate that they do. But over time, I'm going to outthink them. I'm going to outwork them. I'm going to out hustle them every single time. And that's where that underdog thing comes in. It doesn't matter. Like, dude, I had a system designed against me coming out of prison. Anybody that goes and fills out an application that doesn't have a felony conviction record is getting that job before me every single time. Doesn't matter anything else. Just that one factor that I've been to prison and have a felony record that disqualifies me. I'm not going to let that beat me. I'm not going to stand for that and say, you know what, dude. And then there's going to be people listening to this that have had situations worse than me and be like, well, dude, you ain't had this word. Haven't had it this bad. And I'm going to be like, you know what? You're right. But I know there's people out there that I know of that have had it worse than you that still made it happen. So if you say that a person is only winning because they're privileged, what's the reverse of that saying? It's saying that I'm only losing because I didn't have everything handed to me. You know what I mean? So It's like, I don't know. It's the whole empowering aspect that you control this shit. It's up to you, man. It's like, how much of it do you really want? Like, I don't know. Maybe we could go deep on that, but it's just a strongly held belief of mine. It's because I live by it,
No, and I totally appreciate it, and I believe that at the end of the day, like you said, you're gonna do whatever it takes to outwork them, outthink them, and just continue to push through to that journey. And part of the reason why I started this podcast is because there's people like you that have an amazing story and do not allow the circumstances take over the opportunity. I always tell people, don't let the fear take away the opportunity that you have, right? And you can truly overcome anything when you set your mind to it. So that's very amazing. Now, talking about, the underdog and the things you do, one of the things you like to do is really helping people with their podcasting or building a personal brand, right? Because you've been doing that with this image. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, dude. It's funny because I landed on this through sheer hustle, but also dumb luck played a big factor in that as well. And so, you got two sides of the spectrum. You got people, that are like, oh, he's just lucky. He only made it because he's lucky or whatever. And then you got the other side of the spectrum, like, oh man, no, I've worked. It's just all because of my hustle. Blah, 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 blah. But here's what it really is. It's a balance of two, man. It's like because luck is a very real thing. It really is. But the people that are the luckiest in life hustle the most, so it's kind of because your luck's in your favor, but if the fortune favors the bold or whatever it is, that quote, it's true, man. So what happened with me was, I had launched the podcast out of sheer hustle and dumb luck and landed on the podcast and then got crazy results and it just exploded my brand, but I wasn't making a lot of money yet. I was making like $200 to $800 a month through affiliate marketing. That was it. So I really wasn't like crushing it yet. And I was like, man, what is it, man? And then it took over a year, but I went out and spoke at this event one time that my buddy invited me to speak at in San Diego. And I went out there and I spoke, and it was like a small mastermind of 20 or so entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave my story the first day. And then he's like, hey, man, can you come up second day and talk about podcasting? I'm like, yeah, dude, whatever. Cool, no problem. So I go up there and start speaking about it. And I'm sharing, how I got my podcast ranked and how I interview top level people and how I grow my audience and stuff. And people are like, whoa. And they're asking all these questions. And I'm like, man, I might have something here. Because I didn't notice it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I didn't know. I was like in the bottle trying to read the label on the outside, right? You just, when you're in the day-to-day, you don't know. So I put together this offer and then I put it out, and this was a few months after that event, and did 11K that month. And at that time, the most money I've ever made in my life was close to $2,000 in a month. So 11K was like, what? It was like crazy to me. Like it was unheard of. And it just took off at this, kept on. Since then I just drove that home and just started developing it more and more and sustaining. And yeah, man, it was crazy. So a lot of sheer luck and or sheer hustle and dumb luck that played a part in that.
Yeah, and again, part of that, you creating something that maybe at that moment didn't seem like anything big, yet now from that something grew, right? It's a lot of times like kind of that saying, from pain there comes a purpose, right? Or from a bad past there comes a purpose. And so for you creating this, and I know now you have this podcast program that you definitely offer for people that want to get into the podcasting game, and then you do a lot with the with just personal branding, helping people build that personal brand, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll probably get into more stuff down the line. Right now, it's just solely focused. I picked a niche in podcasting and just help a very specific type of person with that. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, man, podcasting, all it is a personal brand. People are coming to listen to your show because they want to hear your thoughts, views, perspectives, and opinions. And so it's just a really cool platform because it's a long form platform and you command more attention. And this isn't just speculation. This is based off of Nielsen reports, stats and facts. People listen to people that listen to podcasts 87% of people that listen to podcasts listen to all or most of the episode. And that's, sometimes you're listening to 3-hour episodes like Joe Rogan. So there's just a lot of attention to build your brand on. It was how I, was able to go from in 1 week's worth of time of nobody wanting anything to do with me because I'm an ex-convict and was trying to figure it out, to the next week interviewing Billie Jean as marketing, just having a constant spiral of upwards momentum ever since. It was a platform that would allow me to put my brand on the map. And so I'm super passionate about it and helping other people do the same. Yeah,
no, definitely. One thing that comes to mind talking about, people didn't want to hire you because you're an ex-con. Les Brown talks about don't let somebody else's opinion about you dictate your future, right? And that's exactly, again, I keep going back to that because I think that's very powerful. A lot of people make those excuses or they tend to create, these hurdles for themselves because of past experience. And that's why I really, truly enjoy and love, who you are and what you've done, because you have so much to give. And is that empowerment and really that motivation that people need to hear. One thing that you talked about, kind of going back to luck, I want to get your take on this. How do you define luck, and I know you said that luck is very real, right? How do you define luck, or how do you get to being lucky, right? And see, what is your take on that?
Yeah, dude. and who knows if even luck's the right word for it. I think it is, but I think it's like chance or whatever. It's just, it happens to those who take action. Luck happens to those who take action. Yeah, some people that don't take action, they get lucky every now and then, but the people that get lucky the most are the people that are constantly taking action in one direction towards a goal. You know what I'm saying? They're steadily in movement towards that goal, trying different things, putting themselves in, like me, I was showing up at that event to speak. And then luckily he asked me to come on and speak the next day about podcasting. I didn't think nothing of it. And I went up there and I got to see firsthand that people were so excited about it and I might have something there. And that that turned into, scaling a multi 6-figure podcast marketing agency where we're at right now. So it really is this like opportunity, happening by taking action. But then there's also the flip side of that, of bad luck and bad things that happen, and that's unavoidable, and that's going to happen. But it seems that there's always going to be stuff that hits you hard in life. But from my experience, when I wasn't taking action, or when I was doing the things that I shouldn't have been doing, I had more bad luck in my life. But when I started moving towards stuff that I should be doing, living in my purpose and my passion and into my potential, I started having more good luck than bad, if that makes sense. The results flipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of like, what you focus upon and you manifest is what you're going to end up getting at the end of the day, right? And so I think, I believe that, the luck, or however you want to put it, is you create that, whether it's good or bad. So you create the opportunity, or you create the negative outcome, right? And it's based on like you said, the actions that you're taking, the things that you're doing, right? Now, one thing that I see here in my notes is that you help people, or you teach them on how to build and engage audiences on social media. So how does that work? Specifically, when you're looking at either podcasting or doing something in social media that you want to get more engagements, how do you do that?
Well, yeah, man. When I first started promoting my podcast, so right out the gate, I got it ranked on Apple on day 3. And then the next week, I leveraged that, showed Billy Jean, messaged him about it, and asked him to come on my show, and then had him on the next week. And so I immediately was breaking through with my brand with the podcast right out the gate. However, I spent the next year with my podcast numbers, downloads, audience, right? It's audience size, not growing. It was anywhere from 885 downloads a month to 936 or something, just ebbs and flows between that number. And it was never, never more than 2,000 a month, and never less than 885 a month. And I was frustrated, dude. And I was like, well, why is this, man? And, there was a lot of reasons to that, because my main strategy was just sharing it on social media and asking the guests to share. And I found that, because of the way how I was doing it, that most of my guests were not sharing the episodes, because I didn't get a verbal agreement from them ahead of time that they would actually share, but also how I was actually sharing it, man. I was just posting it, like the episode, and just like some lazy way. Like I was putting all this energy into creating it, right? And then producing it. And then when it came time to actually marketing it and getting it out for people, I was lazily marketing it. And I wasn't telling stories like I'm telling now. And then when I started telling stories in the posts and actually giving lessons in those stories, just like I'm doing right now as I'm telling the story, that's when I started getting more engagement on social media specifically. And when I started focusing on doing exactly what I'm doing right now, going on other podcasts that align with mine and just talking like we're having a conversation now, then my own podcast grew. So it was like going on other podcasts, getting in front of other audiences was a main way of how I grew my audience, and also telling more stories, more engaging stories, and having lessons in them when I'm promoting the podcast or whenever I'm posting on social media. That was a major breakthrough.
That's awesome. And in terms of, I think that's one thing, whether it's podcast or whether it's online marketing or anything like that, one of the things that I think people fear the most is, or they don't know how to do it, is how did I make offers online that actually convert and sell?
Yeah, dude. That right there, dude, that is, if you look, man, that's probably the one thing that you want to invest in the most. That's what really got me through the next level. So let me tell you another story, dude. I already had the podcast up and running. This was before I got invited out to speak at that event, right? And so I was able to use these skills that I learned before I went out to that event to create the podcast offer. But before that, though, because I went out to San Diego and it was late January of 2019. This was in the very end of 2018, like October, I believe, October or November. I had an opportunity to get into a mastermind program of a guy that I had on my podcast that I really looked up to, because he's a lot like me in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? So, we're attracted to people that are like us, right? And I just really digged his philosophy and style, and also he was world class at copywriting and crafting offers and stuff. And so at the time, we were broke, bro. Like we were behind on our bills, credit cards maxed out, water was shut off. Literally our water was shut off. And we have 4 kids. And I went and got a title loan on my Chrysler Aspen for $4,000. The interest rates on title loans are crazy, right?
Shit. Yeah.
And yeah, and I got it just so that I can invest into his mastermind to learn this skill. There was nothing guaranteed, just to learn how to select your audience, craft an irresistible offer for that audience, and then communicate that irresistible offer to that audience. Those 3 skills right there. And everybody said I was crazy and stupid for doing that. However, 8 months after that decision, I became a 6-figure business owner because of that decision, and also because of the going out to that event and landing on my sweet spot with podcasting, something that I already had a skill in. And so I knew how to, I built up the skills, and that, when I invested, it took about 3 months before that all to manifest, because I had to build up those skills and practice them. Plus I went out to the event and put together that offer. But now that I knew how to put that offer out there, it was a game changer. So yeah, man, I could share a little bit of what I know. I'm not like world class at doing that, but I do know how to put offers out on Facebook and monetize it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And one thing you kind of touch on again is the idea that you had to do all of this crazy stuff and literally come up with the money to get somebody to mentor you or help you or teach you, however you want to put it, right? And so that's one thing that I commonly hear and see between entrepreneurs is that you got to go out and kind of invest, right? People are so afraid to throw out some money at somebody to help them grow their business. Now, I'm not saying you go out and just spend money like crazy. Obviously, you got to be able to have, like you said, that connection or things that are aligned with you and that person. However, I do believe that you do need a mentor or somebody that can just give you some ideas, some nuggets, something to help you with your journey. And so how critical is it to have a mentor or have somebody to be, on your back pocket helping you through to whatever it is you're going through?
You brought up a lot of good points, and it's true, but I don't think it's true for everybody. And the reason why I say it, and it's debatable, but here's what I mean by that. Dude, honestly, there's no way. You have to develop character and skills if you're going to make it in business. You have to have tangible skills that the marketplace wants and needs to have a business, and you have to have high character to be able to even deal with all the stuff that goes into building a business, because it's not easy, or else everybody would have it. So you got to build character and skills. But the fastest way to build those skills, there's no shortcuts. You got to do the work, but the fastest way to streamline that process is through a mentor. But here's the catch, the flip side of the coin. You have to be like most people. If they went and got a title loan on their Chrysler Aspen or their car to get into a mastermind, if they just hear this story, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go do that because that's what Zach did and he was successful. Well, most people are going to fail, and then they're going to be in debt, and they're not even, and they're, because a lot of people aren't cut out for this, man. What I mean by that is you have to be a certain level of crazy. You have to be a certain level of all in committed on being successful. And successful, what I mean by that is obtaining whatever the goal is that you set out for yourself, achieving that. Some people say, oh, successful is, having a certain amount of money because that's what society, no, it's not what society says or what other people think success are. What does success mean to you? So you got to have a be crystal clear on what success means to you. And then you have to be fully committed to it, because if you're not committed to it, and if you're not willing to burn all the boats and go all in on it, then you're probably just not going to be successful. And not trying to sound or be a party pooper or whatever you want to call it, a narcissist, whatever, but it's for real, man. This is not easy by any means. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it does take a certain.
I was gonna say
it's a certain level.
You're right, exactly, and it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody, and I think part of that, which you kind of touched on, that is that it really comes down to like you said, you have to have some sort of level of craziness. It comes down to what the heck is in your mind. Like, how do you see things? You got to be able to see things from a different perspective. And I totally agree with the fact that success is not defined by how much money you have or how much wealth. It really, success is based on what is that to you, right? You can be successful being a teacher if you feel like that's what you want to do in life, that's your purpose. Or you can be successful if you're a multimillionaire because that's what you want and brings you joy in your life, right? And I think that, in my opinion, that is what it is. Success is weighted at a different level based on your own beliefs. And the other one that I love is the commitment. Like, that is one thing that I think we all want to have: the nice house, we all want to have the nice car, we all want to have all of this stuff. Yet when it comes down to being committed to the process and just trusting the process and being committed to doing that, that's when we fall short, and we just don't do the work, right? We don't do the grind, and we don't get to doing that aspect of that.
Yeah, man. And yeah, you're so right. And there's so much, there's that saying of, double down on your strengths and then outsource the rest. And that's very true in business. I wouldn't say that's true in like physical and mental game. You should double down on your weaknesses, like in your physical, like if you're working out, you should probably, if you suck at squats, you should probably double down on squats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
But in business, if you suck at systems and you're a marketing kind of person, and systems are not, and I'm saying that because that's who I am. I'm a marketing kind of guy, like the visionary when it comes to integration and systems, and that makes it's nails on the chalkboard for me. But there's a certain level of, if you're like a CEO of the business, if you're playing the CEO role, there's a certain level of that you do have to integrate. And so the commitment part is, a lot of the times in business, you get to do things that you love doing, that you're passionate about, which is awesome. That's the cool part about it. So you can do a lot of work and do that. But then there's also going to be phases of your business where you're going to have to do work that sucks, that you necessarily don't love doing. And you just got to do the hard stuff. Andy Frisella says it best. I heard him say this one time, and he said these exact words, and they just stuck with me because I was like, that's it. That's how I believe in it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you do the right thing the right way over the long haul, you'll get whatever whatever you want in life. And so it's so true, man. It's so simple, but it's not easy. But do the right thing the right way over the long haul, and you'll get whatever you want.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually, I wanted to ask you, like, you've interviewed so many great people. What has been some of the takeaways or the lessons or the things that you've learned from those interviews that have resonated with you?
Yeah, great question right there, man. It's always, every time, it's in every interview, there's always something, because how I try and do, what I do is I treat my podcast like a way for me to get world-class consulting from people who would otherwise be unreachable to me,
Yeah.
And it's very true. Like I would have never been able to sit down with Andy Frisella twice now for 45 minutes and just ask him anything I want. But because I had the podcast to leverage that, now I can ask him how did he get through certain areas that I was going through. So for an example, I was just sitting down with him a few weeks ago, and we're scaling right now. We're trying to go from multi 6-figure business to 7-figure business. And that's quite a jump. And it's a lot different than just getting your business off the ground. It's a completely different ball game, right? And it requires a new set of problems with a new set of skill sets that you got to learn and all that stuff. So I explained this to Andy, where we were at and what we were doing. Then I asked him, I was like, dude, when you were going through this phase with First Form and Supplement Superstore and all these companies, what did you focus on as the CEO to get to that next level? How did you build it out? How did you scale your business? And then he broke it down exactly step by step. And he broke it down. And he's like, I look at it 10-year phases. This phase, we were doing this, and I was like, wow, it was groundbreaking to me, at least. And so that was awesome, but then there's plenty of other examples of, people that I interviewed at that time. I was going through something different in that phase, and that they helped me break through in a major way.
Yeah, no, I love that. And definitely for me, even too, just kind of talking to many different people, it just gives me the ability to learn more. And I always believe that you're always learning and growing. And the only way you can do it is to pushing forward and just surrounding yourself with that type of group of people, right? That can
Amen.
help you with that. Yeah, definitely. In terms of your life lessons, what has been your biggest life lessons up to this point?
Man, that's a tough question because it's hard to say what's the best ones, right? But um, I would say the kind of what we touched on earlier about how you respond to anything. It's your
Mhm.
choice.
Yep.
You have the freedom to choose how you respond to anything. That empowered me to turn my life around from not a good place to a great place. So um, that um, I am the type of person that I'm emotional sometimes, like emotional, and like I will get frustrated or pissed off, or I'm really intense. It's a good way to put it. Really, really intense, and I hold myself to a certain sense. So I'll get upset with something, and that's cool. Emotion's great to take action with, but it's not good to make decisions with. So like
Yeah.
one of the great lessons I learned is to not make decisions emotionally. So if like you're all fired up about
Mm.
something, if you're super excited or if you're super frustrated or whatever, to let the emotion pass before you actually make the decision. Make the decision logically, and then after you make the decision, then bring those emotions back and take action with the emotion. You know what I mean? So like for an example, like like I was super hyped up and excited that I was partnering with my two glaring weaknesses is systems and finance. So I went and
Mm.
found two people that I really dig, that I like, that are world class. One of them's world class in systems, the other guy's world class in finance. So I was like, cool, boom, problem solved. Super fired up about it. But we're talking equity, and that's a big decision to make in business, to give people equity of your company. And who
Yeah.
knows, the relationship can have that honeymoon period and you guys are all cool, but then what happens if you guys stop jamming or anything that could happen, and then boom, you're just stuck into a horrible like marriage at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I was super fired up about it, but before I made that decision, we had a grace period of
Mm.
90 days of working together before we even decide if we're going to sign an equity deal. That way we get to really
Yeah.
see and think about, is this what I really want to do and stuff, and then boom, we make the decision, we sign the agreement, and then we can excitement again that we're a good team because we figured that out, that we can communicate with each other, and that we're all in on this. And now I can act with that excitement again and move
Yeah.
forward with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, I think you have a great message on this, and I'm excited to actually ask you this next question, because we were kind of talking about this before we came on. And it was, I saw a picture of you a while back. I think you put it on LinkedIn or all your social media, right? Where you have, you're all with your tuxedo and, looking sharp, and then your regular clothes, right? And you had this belief that you needed to be that kind of image to do whatever you got to do in life, right? So my question to you is, how important is it authenticity in your day-to-day life, whether it's personal or professional?
Dude, it's you will win on authenticity or lose on authenticity. And just to say this, the word authenticity or authentic makes me cringe because so many fake entrepreneurs use it, and it's such a big buzzword, and it's the people that are inauthentic that use it so much. So I just like to say keeping it real. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. There
But
you go.
just
Yeah.
but yeah, authentic, dude. It's everything, bro. And so like when I came out of prison, bro, I thought I had to be positive all the time, and don't get me wrong, I have a positive mindset and I'm optimistic, but there's also days where I just want to punch people in the throat, or where where I'm pissed off, or I'm
Yeah.
having a bad day, or just going through a slump or something. I'm a human being just like everybody else. And so I thought I had to be positive all the time, and then I thought I had to wear suits and ties to be successful. And nothing wrong with suits and ties and looking dapper, bro. But I mean, a lot of you guys are just listening to this podcast. But if you see me, I got a beard that goes down past my
Yeah.
nipples and a body full of tattoos, and I did time. The suits and ties is not me. It just is not me. I look, yeah, I feel kind of clean, like good, and whatever. But I'd rather just go around in a t-shirt and some jeans and some shoes, and I'm cool. You know what I mean? That's more my style. That's me. That's
Right.
me being authentic. You know what I'm saying? And I'm super unpolished. I'm raw. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like cut and dry professional type. That's just, that would be inauthentic for me, but it may not for you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out what all it is, man, is like, just get really clear on who you are. And,
Yeah.
and one of the main things that helped me break through is I used to think I had to be positive all the time, but then I stopped. I was holding back punches. I would not say things that I knew would, offend a lot of certain people, but would get through to people on such a level that would could possibly potentially impact and improve the quality of that person's life. But I wouldn't say it because I was afraid of how I would be perceived by someone else. And so I wouldn't say my truths. I wouldn't speak what I truly believe. I'm not saying go out and be polarizing just to be polarizing, because then you're just a douchebag. But
Yeah.
say your truths. What do you really feel and believe? What do you strongly believe, and speak that, because the world needs that.
Yeah.
There's going to, and no matter what, even if you are the type that's scared and you're saying all these things positive or whatever, no matter what you are, if you're being totally fake or totally real, there's always going to be half the people that hate you and half the people that love you, no matter what. So it's just so much more liberating and better to just be yourself and not worry about who you offend in the process.
Yeah, and that's actually something that that I'm myself learning throughout the journey too, and it reminds me of, at the end of the day, you have to just speak the truth, and as you said, be real to yourself, and uh, you're never gonna be this goal that everybody's gonna want. At the end of the day, you're gonna have the good and the bad. People are always gonna have something to say, and I think I love what you did, and I'm gonna take it back to another story with everything going on right now, and you had posted something, or you went live on your Facebook, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter or something to that extent, right? And I love how you carry yourself on that, because again, it goes back to it says a lot about who you are and about the things that are going on, right? You're being authentic, you're being real, you're speaking your opinion, and then you hear people kind of attacking you. There was a couple of attacks here and there, or their opinions about, well, how can you say this or how can you say that? At the end of the day, your message is, look, I'm just speaking my truth. I'm just speaking my opinion. Except you carry yourself very well, in the sense of you were not confrontational. And so it goes back to anything that you say, right? Or anything that you do. You speak your truth. You speak who you are. People are going to like it. People are not going to like it. How you react or what you do at the end of the day is the difference between who you are. And you carry yourself very good in that. And it's just amazing how, unfortunately, people don't see that, right? And I think it comes down to just being very real to you.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. I can see you pay attention to detail.
I do for sure. So, no, that's awesome. So before I let you go, I have a couple more questions for you. The first one, I guess, is what's next for you? What do you see in the near future for you, and with your empowerment of the Underdog?
Yeah, man, we are building a world-class podcast marketing agency. And what that is we're going to dominate the podcast industry. And how we're going to do that is our vision statement is to imagine a world where you don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. And that's something so close to my heart. And because I did that myself with the wearing the suits and acting positive all the time, and thought I had to, be successful right away and pretend it and stuff, because it's this internet, in the internet marketing space, there's too much bullshit going around. People on Instagram showing you that they're living on a beach and it's on a computer, and that everything's easy and you don't have to work hard. And that's bullshit. You're going to have, if you want anything that's worth having in life, you're going to have to work your face off for it. It's going to be a lot of hard work, a lot of trying times, a lot of times where you question if you can keep on going on or not. But I just want to show people that, hey man, you don't have to pretend to be something that you're not. You don't have to act like you're further along when you're not. It's okay to be just starting out and say, hey, look, I'm just starting out and I'm going to figure this out. Come along with me. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I stand for. This is what I don't stand for. And so we're helping people like that get their message out through podcasting. That's how we're going to build a world-class podcast marketing agency. After that, that is the cash cow that's funding my outsourcing agency that I'm going to build next. I usually don't like to talk about what I'm going to do, but hey, we're on this topic. But that outsourcing agency is going to be for guys and gals coming out of prison that were just like me. I'm not about giving someone a fish. I'm about teaching someone how to fish. And our current judicial system is a joke. I mean, you look at our look at our recidivism rates, bro. It's that system is built on money and it's designed to keep you in the system. Compare our recidivism rates in the U.S. to any other country in the world, it dwarfs them all by a long shot. It's a broken system. It doesn't work, and it's in food stamps, welfare, assisted living. That's giving you a fish. It's not teaching you how to fish, and it's designed to keep you dependent on that system. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't beat it, and because I'm a living example that you can. And there's plenty of others that I can point out to that have done it as well. But I want to offer resources to that person that's just like myself coming out. And not give them a fish, but help empower them, truly empower them to become the person they need to be to go out and be back with their families and be a productive member of society. So we're going to have an outsourcing agency that, brings them in, vets the right people, then builds them up, their character and their skills, and then gets them placed in other jobs of other entrepreneurs that we're connected with, or helps them start their own business in the process, either or, whichever person they, because not everybody's an entrepreneur. Some people are employee mindset. Some people are entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But we're going to help those people out. And so our ultimate goal, this is like a life legacy of mine, a 9% recidivism rate nationwide in the U.S. or lower. Crazy goal, but that's what it is. I'm sticking to it. And that's in the near future.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that empowerment and definitely just doing that. You talked about vision. Whether specifically for an entrepreneur, you're starting up, some sort of business. How critical is it to have a vision? Sometimes we forget to do vision, mission, or whatever statements, right? And we just start doing the work and start doing the grind. What is your take on that? Is it critical to have a vision before you start, or start and then have a vision, or how would you go about it?
I don't know if I decoded this all the way just yet, but here's where I'm at right now. And I made this breakthrough about 2 months ago. It's something that I've been thinking about for years and I constantly work on it. I don't know if I have it all the way yet, but this is where I'm at right now. Vision is very important. I feel like you can't, there's a book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Great book, amazing book. And there's so much good stuff in that book. However, it shouldn't be called Start With Why, because you can't start with why. You just can't. You have to start with who, or you have to start with yourself. Who are you? Because just think about it for a minute. How can you determine why something's important to you if you first don't even know who you are in the first place? You know what I mean? Any type of change that you've ever made in your life, any major shift or change you've ever made in your life, has all started with identity. I used to smoke cigarettes since I was 9 years old to just recently, a little bit over 4 months ago. 4 months now, longest I've ever went without smoking a cigarette. Before, when I used to try and quit in the past, I had all the reasons why I wanted to quit. I wanted to be in my kids' life long. I didn't want to die young. I wanted to see my grandkids. All these great reasons. Wanted to live healthy. Wanted to be able to exercise. Whatever. All these stuff. Had all these great reasons why I didn't want to smoke, and it never worked, because every time somebody asked me, "Hey, Zach, you want a cigarette?" I would always say, "No, I'm trying to quit." And that was the problem, because my identity was, I'm a smoker that's trying to quit, but I'm still a smoker. That was my identity. And so when I shifted that to, I'm not a smoker, I'm a healthy person, I'm a man of my word, I'm a hard worker, I got clear my identity of who I am. When people ask me, do I want a cigarette now? I'm like, no, I'm not a smoker. It's no longer I'm trying to quit. It's no, I'm not a smoker. And it's no longer a thing to me. So it started off with who, getting clear on who I am. Same when I was in that prison cell, I said, this isn't who I am. I love my kids. I'm a great father. And it started with my identity. And then so you start with who, and then comes the vision. What do you want? Like right now, I'm looking at my vision board as a visual representation of everything that I want in my life, from a father standpoint, a husband standpoint, a health standpoint, business standpoint, like all these different things of visual representations, the vision of what I want. So I know who I am. I know what I want that's related to who I am. And then now I can look at all these visual representations to say why each and every one of those things is important. And that why is like the thing that helps you battle through it all. So I feel like when you got those three working in tandem, you become unstoppable. And the way to do that, the practical how-to is, first you identify who it is. Okay, I'm not a smoker, or I'm a healthy person that has 10% body fat, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You identify what it is, who you are, and then you decide what it is that you want. So you identify, and then you behave. Right now, I'm in 75 hard. I identified I'm a healthy person. What do I want? I want a 6-pack abs with 10% body fat. Boom. So identify. Now I'm behaving. I'm doing the 75 hard. And in the process of behaving, not eating a cheat meal for 75 days straight, constantly doing all these things, right? Then I become who I identified with. Identify, behave, become.
I love that. And talking about that 75 hard, that is a 75 hard challenge. And a lot of people think it's a weight challenge, weight loss challenge. It's not. It's actually, I believe, it's a mental, emotional,
toughness.
and also with that comes the losing the weight. I did that. I'm like, holy cow, that shit was hard. I'm on phase 2, and I had to start that like 3 times already because I cannot, So anyways, no, that's awesome. So I love those 3 different aspects. So for the listeners and viewers, you make sure to take note of that, because I think that's a big golden nugget that can help you in your own journey. So if people wanted to connect with you, where can they connect with you, or how can they find you?
Right on for asking, dude. It's definitely the podcast, Underdog Empowerment. You can listen to the podcast on pretty much any platform that you listen to podcasts on. But to make it real simple for you guys, you can go to underdogempowerment.com, and right there on the front page, you can just scroll down a little bit. There's a podcast section with a little red button that says subscribe for iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, whichever one you prefer. Hope to see you guys over there. And Cesar, awesome. Dude, thanks for having me again, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. And my last question for you is, if people are going through some challenges or something going on right now, what would be one of many advices that you've given us already, maybe a different one? What would be one thing they can do that they can overcome that challenge, or they can start overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, dude, I'll give you a tool. So going back to the not making decisions emotionally, but logically, and then acting with emotion. So while you're pissed, say you're having a bad day, and like everything that could go wrong is going wrong, because there's days like that, and you're just like frustrated, upset, ready just to throw in the towel for the day. And before you make any bad decision, what you can do is and it's hard to do this. This is easy to say, but this is hard to do, but this is really, really powerful. But, you can stop yourself and say, all right, this today is not going as expected, and there's a lot of curveballs that are coming my way. Based off of what's going on exactly right now and my reality, what's the next best thing that I can do that's going to bring me one step closer to my goal? Or what's the best move that I can make going forward? A question like that, because, I did this myself and didn't know what I was doing when I was in prison back in 2010. And then ended up reading a book by Tony Robbins in 2017, was like, oh, wow, this is a legit tool. And I see how this works, because if you ask yourself a question, your brain has to look for the answer. If I'm like, Cesar, what color is your shirt, man? You, me, and everybody on this podcast is like, what color is Cesar's shirt? We're thinking about that, right? Because we have to. That's how our brains work. So when things are going bad, and I'm guilty of this too. I used to always ask the wrong question. I'd be like, oh, why is this always got to happen to me, or whatever? You don't want to ask that, man. The best thing is to ask, what's the best thing that I can do moving forward? And then your brain starts searching for the right answer. So pause, ask the right questions, get the right answers, make the decision logically, and then act on it emotionally.
Awesome. I love it. Zachary, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us today and giving us a lot of your great knowledge. So thank you.
Dude, thanks for having me on the show, man. It was a blast.
Awesome. And for the rest of you guys, please make sure you check us out. Please subscribe. We're in every platform. Please check out Zachary. Go to his website and subscribe to his Underdog podcast show. Till next time, I'll see you guys. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, Thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.